When I was 21 years old, I had started work there, and I walked into the office one day, and it was during a time when I believe President Bush was in the middle of drug summits in Colombia, South America. And my boss told me about the story they were working on. They were exposing a prostitution ring run by the president of a very large Japanese corporation. And the film crew and director they had sent down had run out of money, and they needed to get a videotaped confession from one of the prostitutes that this person was exporting to Japan, back to New York so they could get it out on a live feed to Tokyo. So I walk into work in the morning and just expecting a normal day. And my boss walks up to me and he says, "We need you to go down to Bogata, Colombia." And I was like, wow, I didn't know what to think. So I was like, okay, I'm ready. I always kept a bag in my desk with my passport and just a change of like a t-shirt, jeans, and underwear so that we could go anywhere we had to on last minute notice. And I spent the whole morning trying to get my visas and proper papers and whatnot, my airplane tickets. And during this whole time, I had been living with my folks, and I wanted them to know that I had to leave the country and that I wasn't going to be home for dinner after work. So I'm driving around in a limousine, picking up my papers and my airplane tickets and everything I had to do, repeatedly trying to call my family, and nobody was home. So I was stuck. I tried up until 3 o'clock, and my flight left, and I was leaving New York through JFK, down transferring in Miami, down to Lima, Peru, where I was supposed to transfer to a Colombian airline to get into Bogota. And everything was timed perfectly so that the film crew would meet me in Bogota, give me the tapes, I would give them their money, which is about $10,000 in cash, and just continue on back to New York. I wasn't supposed to stay. So this is a really long story, but what in the end happened is I couldn't get to anyone in my family before I left. I landed in Miami, and I tried my family again, and they still weren't home. So I called my grandmother, and I told them to call my mom and say, "I'm not going to be home for dinner." I didn't want to tell them where I was going because I knew they would worry, because at that time Colombia was a hot spot. I got down to Lima, Peru, and I arrived about maybe 4 o'clock in the morning, and my transfer wasn't supposed to leave until 7. And I don't speak Spanish very well, only a little bit. And when I got there, there were these guys who worked for Aero Peru, which I was supposed to take, and they had badges on this that my flight wasn't going to leave. And I didn't believe them, but I should have, because I got stuck there until 12 o'clock that afternoon. I missed all my connections. I didn't know how to get in touch with the people I was supposed to get in touch with in Bogota. And when I finally got a flight, I got on a Lufthansa flight out of Lima into Bogota. I got there. One of the stewardesses was nice enough to interpret for me, and it turned out that the crew was waiting the whole time for me. I got there only to find out that there was a hit put out on our group by the group that was exporting these prostitutes, and spent the first, I'd say, 6 hours of my trip to Bogota in a hotel on the floor with the drapes shut, waiting for armed guards to show up at our door. A lot of stuff happened in between, but a day later, I finally got out with an armed guard escort to the airport, got on the plane to come home, got the videotapes. I met the most interesting people in the world, between the Secret Service that were helping us, the prostitute who was exposing the guy who was exporting the other prostitutes and drugs. And I thought when I got to the airport it was over. And I got on the plane, and there was a bomb scare on the plane, and we had to land in a town called Barranquilla, which is in North Colombia, right on the water. They brought the dogs on the plane. They did a dog check of the whole plane. We finally got back on, and I think, all right, finally all this is over. I get back to JFK 2 days later than I was supposed to, or a day and a half later than I was supposed to, when I was never even supposed to stay. And I got back within 10 minutes, just long enough to get the videotape I had in my hand stuck into the video cassette recorder so we could get it out on a live feed to Tokyo. And all this happened in 36 to 48 hours, and I just expected to go to work for a normal day's work. What a surprise.